welcome to another live session with Jessica. We are working on a tea cowl in the group right now and a few other things, and I will give everybody a few minutes to pop on and join us. There we go. I think that's a little bit better. Give everybody a few minutes to pop on and help with things. Hi, Gloria. Give everybody a minute to pop on. Let's see, what else going on? Let's see. We are working on the Tunisian shawl. There's the next week is in there, and it has the new rows. A few people have already completed them and shared pictures, and they're looking absolutely fantastic. Let me get mine. It's buried. I have been crocheting all day today. I actually got a day off to crochet and work on things. This is the shawl that we're working on, and this is our fantastic border. And we are going to be doing a lesson on blocking and everything else when this is done. Hi, Melinda. There is also a non-Tunisian cowl going on that is called For the Love of Amy, and this is mine I'm working on. Hi, Tammy. So I'm working on that, and I have the red, white, and blue shawl that I'm working on, and this is not Tunisian, but I'm getting this worked up for summer, and that's using the Little Favorites by Rhea Yarn. She's having a great big Easter basket sale right now, so everybody's picking up stuff that they are wanting for colors and things like that. Post what you guys are working on in the group. If you're working on the tea cowl, post it in the group, and that'll get members going on that again. We did post a poll. It's almost over, so go in on the poll, and we're going to bump it up and give your names that you like, and then what we're going to do is take the names and we're going to put them in another poll, and then everybody can choose from there what name everybody likes for this shawl. Hi, Lisa. And the winner will get something from the group here, either yarn or hooks or something they might want or need. Please post what you guys are working on. If you guys are working on the shawl, the Tunisian shawl, please post it and get people into it. I know that there's a lot of new stitches in it. Please, there is actually a practice piece. It is not done for the purpose of gauge swatching. It is done more for the purpose of learning the stitches. So it is a fantastic little piece to use for, you know, if you want to do a washcloth or anything like that. Hi, Rita. I didn't turn my messenger off, so we will probably be dinging a few times while we're filming here. I usually am pretty good about that. Does anybody have any questions, comments? Do you have questions about hooks, some of the stitches we're working on, videos, anything that's in here, anything you guys want to see? You know, I do the lives, and I know we get different people, different times, and I know different time zones. Please speak up if there's something you want to see Tunisian related, and we will see about getting it done in here, whether it's a Tunisian cowl or anything like that. I know right now that some people are saying, you know, hey, I've learned Graphghans, I'm kind of fed up with them. Do you guys have anything else? So we are doing some other things other than that. Hi, Kathleen. So yes, we do teach Tunisian Graphghan techniques, but we do have other things other than that. And for those of you that don't know, our videos, we have right-handed, left-handed, and closed captioned. We were supposed to get the whole YouTube channel set up and videos on it. Actually, we were going to do that next week, but seeing how there's like a travel ban, I'm not going to be traveling, so Erica and I may be able to get some of them up, but we're not going to be able to do as much as we had planned for the week of April 15th to like the 22nd. So we're hoping to cram all of that into a July thing now, pending everything works out and does what we wanted to do. But we'll see, since, you know, everybody's got to kind of play things by ear right now. Oh, another thing, Blueprint. It used to be Craftsy, has all of their classes. You can watch them all for free right now. They're doing that till April 15th or April 16th. I did post it in the group the beginning of the month, but I know posts pop up and it pushes it down the page. I'm no way affiliated with Blueprint, but I think that their classes are fantastic. They have some Tunisian classes. They have sewing and quilting, and gosh, they got so much. So woodworking, you name it, they've got it. But they do have some really interesting Tunisian classes, so I would pop over and watch them while you can. You don't get the downloads for the classes unless you buy the class, but I think that watching the class is absolutely fantastic, because there's so much to learn. What else is going on? I'm excited. I'm seeing everybody's shawls, which to me is super exciting. I love seeing these things come to life. I wanted to give you guys a pattern that was super easy and mindless to work on, that you could pack in a bag and go. I know that a few people are actually getting a little bored with it. You can add a color panel to this center if you want to. Basically, you can do that because if you're working with the DK in the center, we have 105 stitches. And the reason we have 105 is because there's 126 stitches. We have 11 on this side so that you end in a TSS. So in that 105, if you wanted to, you could do a panel. My phone is doing some crazy thing. I don't know. Anyway, you could add a panel in there and not have any issues at all. The color panel, you could make it as wide or as narrow as you want. I would leave at least 10 stitches on each side so that you get a border around it. I know that many are just starting the pattern as well that have just joined us. So, I mean, this is your creation. You can do what you want with it. There's so many ideas that I have, but I wanted something that was going to be beginner friendly and mindless, because I know that this started before all of the lockdowns and craziness happened, and I know what it's like to take a project with you that's mindless, and that's kind of what I wanted. But you guys can feel free to dress this up however you want to, and there is somebody that's actually adding an inlay to it, and it looks beautiful. So, hi Kim. Everybody's popping on. Kathleen and Rita, Lisa. We will be doing a blocking video on this tea cowl. This blocking video is going to be so super easy. You really aren't going to need much of anything. You can actually block this on a spare bed, or whatever you have around. This is not going to be that hard. And this DK is going to block super, super easy. It is super soft right now. Everybody that's using this yarn or that has seen my project while I'm out that wants to touch it is in love with it. They're like, oh my gosh, it's so soft. So I'm super, super happy with this yarn and how it's working up. What else is going on? Somebody did mention they wanted to do a sampler, a Tunisian sampler. There is a book, and it is called Tunisian Crochet, and they have a bunch of different stitches and things in here, and I told them that I would mention this book. It actually has a sampler throw that has different blocks with different stitches. It's called Tunisian Crochet. From Absolute Beginner to Advanced. And this is a good investment if this is something you want to try out. I really like this book. The Crochet Stitch Volume 1, 2, and 3 that we always talk about in here is fantastic. But if you wanted something that was like, okay, I want to make stuff, this is good. And there's also a Tunisian washcloth one that's really good. I'm not even sure if I can reach it from here. Oh. Do I even see it? I use it so much that here it is. 101 Tunisian dishcloths. This actually is a good book too. I did start out with this to learn different stitches and things, and I really found this book interesting. There's a lot of patterns in here that are really cool. So I did like that book a lot. There are a lot of Tunisian books out, and if you look for them, you can find them. If there's one that you want that you're not sure about and you want to shoot a message or post on the page, hey, you know, I was looking at getting this, is it worth it or is it not? We can kind of go and give you an overview, because I think between Erica and I, we pretty much have a good bit of them. There is another book that Sharon Silverman released, and it is called Delicate Crochet. And this actually has some Tunisian shawls and stuff in them, and they are really cute. And I was really impressed with this because, you know, it had some Tunisian stuff in it, but it also has a lot of other interesting articles that are fantastic. Thank you, Erica, for posting all of those links. Hi, Amy. Hi, Gretchen. Okay, do we have any questions so far? Another person had asked, and I took it out. Demiro makes a hook case, and mine is red. It's got 2 sections in it, and my hooks go on one side. This has the bags so that I can put, I've got stitch markers and cables for, because Tunisian cables actually take the knitted cable holders, and a pair of scissors and a row counter in here. And then in the back, there is a big case, and I keep my ruler and my cables in here, and another, I have more hooks in there. I absolutely love this case because Knitter's Pride, the Tunisian Dream set, does not have this. And for the price of this case, the Tunisian Dream set, and the fact that I ordered the larger hooks that come with the ginger set, was actually less than the ginger set. So for those of you that have ordered the Knitter's Pride Tunisian Dream set because it was cheaper and because it was recommended here, I like to start you guys out with something that has everything. I don't like, I mean, I have several sets of hooks here, and with most of them I've had to go and buy longer cables, and or the cables are separate, or, you know, whatever. And the Knitter's Pride set, I think that's a favorite of mine just because it comes with everything you're going to need. And, you know, you can do small projects, big projects, whatever you need to do. So, we will be talking and doing a blocking video in here when the tea-cow is done. I think next week, because some people are home and they're kind of bored, I'm ultimately going to go into the tea-cow tomorrow and release like, probably like 48 rows, and that way you guys can do what you want with it. Don't get nervous that I released that many rows, that it's going to take you a while to catch up. Because honestly, I just joined my second row or second skein of yarn, and I'm at like row 69. So I am not that far ahead of you guys. And with a few other things going on, like I'm testing a pattern, and, you know, I'm doing a cowl. I'm trying to get some things done in between working and taking care of things. So, you know, don't think, oh, Jessica's got all this time on her hands, so we're just going to fly ahead and do all. No, we're still going to take our time. This is not a rush project. This is here. It's going to be here. And all of the videos that we released over in the tea-cow will be in this group as well when it does disappear in like a year or two. Like I said, we're in no rush to get this done. Melinda said, I just bought a similar case for my hooks. Yes, I do love this case. It's one of the best investments I made, because all they do is come in that little plastic container, which is, it's nice, and I kept mine in there for the longest time. But when I'm going somewhere, I like to take my hook out of my work, so that way I can put my hooks in there and I don't have to worry about them getting broke. And all the cables and everything else are in there. So, how is everybody doing? Does anybody have any questions? Is there hook questions you guys have? Is there something you guys want to see in here? We just uploaded the April challenge for the month, which is a Tunisian reverse stitch graph that you can do. We did put in the Tunisian reverse stitch video. It loaded sideways. I have no idea why. Facebook, you know. Kim, what is your suggestion for the shawl cowl when adding a new skein and hiding the ends? Okay, let me get my shawl. When you add the new skein, what I like to do is I have my working yarn on the hook, and I know that I'm running low on yarn. So what I do is I just loop the new yarn and the old yarn over, just like the first loop that you put on your shoes, okay? And then I pick up the next stitch using the new yarn. Now, once you complete that row, and then you come back and you cast off, then I take my hook out after I've cast completely off. I put my stitch marker in to hold my first stitch, and I flip my project over. And where I flipped my project over, and I have these two yarns, and all I did was looped them over to, like you tie your shoes. This is not tight. You can go in and just give that a little tug, not tight, just enough to hold it in place. And I like to leave about a 6-inch tail because anything shorter than that you cannot weave. So if you look at my back, you can see that's where it is. And I only loop it over like that because I can't tell you how many times I have tied something or did a Russian join or whatever was fancy and new on YouTube and tried it, and then I had to frog my work. And if you've got to do that and you have a knot in it, you have to cut it. So that is why I like this method. All you're doing is looping the 2 yarns over the first step of tying your shoe. So if I have to rip this out, I can actually just pull this out. And I can tighten this up, and you can see on the front, if you over tighten it, your stitch will start to pucker, but I do not do that. So once you have this and you're working on it and you're going along and you're doing whatever, and you get up far enough that you know you're not going to have to rip this out, then what I go and do is I will loop this over and make another knot and tie it down. And like I said, you need to be careful so that this is loose, but not, you don't want the strand hanging there. So go in and you have your knot that's just looped over once. Go in and tighten it down and look at your front, make sure it's okay, and then loop it over one more time and tie it in a knot. Now when I'm done, what I'm going to do is, after I get to my next skein, because I don't like weaving in ends, what I'm going to do is I'm going to weave this in, and I'm going to weave one in up top in this row, those purl bumps. You want to go up and down through the purl bumps, but you want to make sure when you do that that you're not going just necessarily through the purl bumps. You want to be able to catch some of the yarn, the fibers, because what happens is when you wash your project, those fibers expand, and if you've gone just in and out of the stitch, then that tail will just kind of work its way out, especially with people pulling on it, especially like a blanket. When you wrap yourself in it, you can see those tails will kind of pull out. If you go through the fiber holds it more, and when it holds that, then it doesn't pull out as easy and it's weaved well, and you're really gonna need to look for it after you weave it in. So I will be weaving mine in when I join the second skein, my next skein of yarn, which would actually be my third skein. If you have any questions about that, let me know and I will help you. But you're going to use those purl bumps to weave, and I like to go into the fiber, not just through the little purl bumps, because I find that it holds so much better, because especially once you wash it, the fabric, and when you're blocking things, and the composition of the fiber changes so much. You know, and that's why, too, a lot of people will make something and then they give it away or it gets washed and people are like, oh my gosh, this started out as a twin size throw, but now it's queen size. Because if you would have taken your fabric and blocked it, even just the act of washing, you know, a 5-inch swatch, just the act of throwing it in some water and washing it and then just wringing it out. Do not twist a swatch. Don't wring it out. You just want to squeeze the water out of it, and then you take it and put it in a towel and roll it over and push, and it'll absorb that, and then you can lay it flat, and that will, by the next morning when that thing is dried, the temperature of the room and everything that's gotten to it, you're gonna know, you're gonna definitely see that this thing, it will lay flatter, it will have the better stitch definition. It's amazing. You know, I know that there's so many people that are like, I don't block anything, but you know, shirts and garments and all of that, they're done this way with the blocking because your gauge swatch will change significantly. So that's why I like blocking. I know that, you know, people are against it. And the other thing about blocking is your project will lay so much nicer, and it looks more professional. You know, I I do craft shows, and there are times where I will take a shawl and my dummy that's in the corner over there, and if you put a shawl on her, there are times where I go to a festival or whatever, and I will take a garment steamer, and I'll, you know, you're not right on the fabric with the garment steamer. You're a good 6 inches away, but it relaxes the fabric and it'll let it lay flat. Especially if you've made, you know, say you've made a shawl and you've made hats and you've made all this stuff, and then you go and you take it and you put it on the table. It's kind of wrinkled. So like the things that you really want to show off, like that hat that's got these great stitches, or you know, these shawls. If you know, there's ways that you can hang them, and there's ways that you can display them, that they look fantastic that way. And people go over, you know, and that's the thing. People want to be able to touch what you're making. They want to go over and feel how soft it is. They want to know what it's about. And there are times where I have had people get upset because my asking price is a little bit higher than another crocheter at the same fair, and people pay my prices over theirs because the quality of the project seems more, I don't even know the word, because like I said, it's, you know, everybody that can crochet makes nice stuff, and you know, it's when you display it and you throw something out, it's just like, you know, on Facebook, if you took a picture of something and your background had dirty clothes and whatever in the background, people do notice that, and they take notice too when something looks professional. So that little bit of extra time that you can take goes a long way, and I know a lot of people are like, I don't do that, but I find that with selling, it brings me more money, and it elevates my crochet status, so that like people pick me over other people for things. And you know, it's not that the quality of their work, it's the presentation. And the presentation, yeah, sometimes it's a pain in the backside to have to go in and block something, and then you got to worry about when you're moving it and how you're going to display it. But you know, it speaks volumes to people. And just like my Graphghans, you know, I have some of them on compression quilt hangers at businesses with my cards. And I will go in, and I know exactly what business I have them in. I go in and I restock my cards, and I go into those businesses every couple months and restock my cards, and I will go in and I will touch up those blankets that are hung on quilt hangers, because, you know, if they get dusty, or they're, you know, people are always touching them, so you want to go in and freshen them up with a garment steamer. Or, you know, sometimes I might have to take one down and bring it home and launder it or whatever, because so many people have touched it, or because, you know, oh, a customer wants it, so then they call me. So then I come in and I'm like, okay, I will meet you at the store tomorrow, you know, and we can, you know, you could purchase it, and that way I have an opportunity to go in, take it down, bring it home, freshen it up, whether I garment steam it or I wash it. It depends a lot. And I know we talk about this sometimes, but not a lot, but the Consumer Safety Commission is over the United States, and they have recommendations on things, and, you know, for choking hazards and things aimed for children and everything else, and you guys can look that up. But that to me is like, I try to go by them guidelines as much as possible, especially toward kids' items, because, you know, the choking hazard and having your insurance is important if you're going to sell items that you've made. Like I said, unfortunately, there was a woman by me, and she sold something, and she was making handmade things, and she had no business insurance, and a child choked and suffocated on something she made, and they went after her, and without her having her business insurance, you know, they can go after all of your personal assets. So it was a very bad situation, but I took anything I could find out of that and learned what I could, because I never wanted to be in that situation. And being a teacher locally, I tell everybody I can tell about, you know, what you need to do and why you need to do it. So if you guys have questions about that, I actually made a post a while ago, but anything you guys want to know, please don't hesitate to ask. There's nothing really off limits here. So, do we have any questions about anything that's going on in here? Is there anything you guys want to see? Is there anything that we're missing out on as a group that you guys would like to have? Give everybody a minute to give some input there. You know, it's the members that keep this group fantastic. If it's not for you guys, we wouldn't have a group. And I try to take any input I can get to keep this group great and to keep it growing. And to take the time to add the personal touches to it. I know I've seen a few groups that people start and then, you know, life gets in the way, so the group just sits there and it's really not getting the attention that it needs. And then people are just sharing links to old stuff over and over again. I like to try to update our group and keep things interesting. So if you guys have anything you want to see, don't think, you know, oh, they're not going to do that. So, Kim, did that answer your question about adding the new skein? Did you understand that? Are you going to need a video? Melissa, I've seen the color change method you use for TSS. Would it be possible to see how to do a color change for the knit stitch? Yes. I actually can add a Tunisian knit stitch video for the color change. I will get that filmed tomorrow and get it into the group. And that would help too for those of you that want to end up changing up the pattern or adding a panel or whatever you guys want to do. Like I said, this pattern, I wanted something that was going to be very beginner friendly. So, you know, I think you guys kind of got the idea right now for this. And if there's something you want to add, a strip, a panel, a color block section, whatever, you know, feel free to do that. Melissa said, thanks and no rush, I'm working on my bunny and the shawl too. I really like that bunny. I am trying to find time to do the bunny. I actually think that doing the bunny and then adding a big pom-pom on one side and then doing the bunny again and then adding an embroidered face onto it would be super cute, because then you could flip your pillow over. Or, you know, if you just did the back side and put the big pom-pom on it, it would look like, you know, he's hiding, playing hide-and-go-seek in the corner of the couch. So, I think that would be a cute idea. Kim says, yes, I do appreciate you taking the time to answer the questions. Thank you so much for all your help. I have learned so much from you, and it's always very much appreciated. Thank you, Kim. Hi, Catherine. And Erica bumped the video request flyer. We actually have a video request flyer that you can go on and request videos. I did stray from that for a little bit because we got busy with a few things, but I will be getting some videos up again, and I'm going to try to get the YouTube stuff started. There's a lot of things going on in the background. Kim said, I love working on the shawl cowl because I'm using stitches other than the simple stitch. Yes, I do like that. I wanted to add something that we were learning a lot of things kind of all at once, but it was all going to tie in and it was going to keep you busy for a while. We will be doing another thing shortly that's going to have some more stitches that we don't usually use for Graphghans, but I'm kind of excited about it. You know, and that's one of the things too. Some people message about using, you know, the variegated yarn, and you know, I like the yarn that we're using because it's got a little gradient to it. It's, you know, the same color, and those border stitches really pop. If you add, you know, that's one thing you really have to decide on when you pick a pattern out is, will this work with a variegated? Do you want the yarn to show, or do you want the pattern to show? And this is one of the things that we did, that I wanted the pattern stitches to pop. And that's kind of why I'm so excited about this. I really wanted the pattern stitches to really pop out there, and just, you know, it's subtle, but it's, the stitches are really gonna, they're really gonna show, and that's what I wanted. I wanted, you know, the people to see your border, because, you know, we don't always, if you're wearing it, you know, at least those border stitches are gonna drape down and you're gonna see those. The knit stitch is kind of across your back, so you're gonna see them, but not as much as the border. And that was another reason too why I didn't want to confuse everybody by doing the center panel a different color than the border, and then color changes. I wanted everybody to do a stitch, because there's a few stitches involved in here, and I wanted everybody to do the stitches and to learn what they are, and then be able to execute them without getting confused with color changes, because it's, you know, it's hard enough to learn a new stitch and make sure that they're lined up one on top of each other. You know, I wanted something that was straightforward and wasn't going to confuse the heck out of everybody. Hi Karen, hi Robin. And I think this shawl pretty much covered all of that. So we will be doing another poll after we finish up the naming. We have the naming poll going on, and we are going to close that on Friday, take the top 10 names out of there, and then have people vote on those, and that one is going to be the name of the current shawl that we're working on. We are also going to do a poll to see what you guys want to see in here worked on. I know that a few of you wanted a rectangle shawl. There is going to be a fall shawl that's going to be done during, you know, when winter time's starting to come. And there were a few people that requested a sampler blanket, and a few people requested a blanket or something that was done with Ria's yarn, because it's super thin and they want to work with it and work something up that's Tunisian. So I'm working with that too. So when we do that, we're going to need to figure out, when we do the blanket, if we're actually going to do the blanket in the round, which I think will make the colors pop beautifully, or if you guys want to do a rectangular blanket, or if you guys want to do a baby blanket. So that's one of the things we're going to be putting up for the poll, a poll as well. So like I said, your involvement in the group is very important to all of us here. So the input is fantastic and helps us design and what we're going to do and what we're not going to do. And, you know, again, I like the fact that all of the patterns in here are free. I'm thinking about doing a graph pattern or something like that, that's something that's paid, but it's only going to be like $1 or $2, and that way that money can go for hooks that we send out to people in here. So I think that would help out too. But we'll get to that too, because I would like to do a poll and get input on how you guys would like to help out with that. So I'm enjoying seeing all the beautiful colors of the cowl that's going on. I know that we've got a lot of new members, and a lot of them have started the corner to corner entrelac cowl, which is looking great. Melinda said, good thing Rhea's having a sale this week. Yeah, I have a few things in my basket. Robin said, sitting outside trying to listen so I don't disturb the others inside. Oh, gracious. Joy said, thank you for sharing your creativity with us. Thank you, Joy. So yeah, we're going to be doing the polls because I'd like to get some input on what you guys want. I know that so many of us have babies coming into the family, and others are like, I am not going to work on another baby thing ever. So, you know, that's why your input's important, because we want to cater to everybody here and include everybody, but we don't want to do stuff that's not going to get participation. You know, it's hard enough to have a cowl because so many people do start it and then they don't finish it. How many of us have bags of whips that are sitting around that are unfinished? I know I do. It's springtime is here, and I did not finish my Rosetta cowl, and I actually have put it away until this winter. I will finish it. I've printed everything out, but yeah, so I know I have things that are sitting in a whip bag, and actually I just went through a bunch of mine and purged things I knew I was not going to finish and things like that. And I think that's important. You know, sometimes it's, you look at your unfinished projects and you're like, you know, I should finish this, but I know I'm not, you know, and that's one of the things that if I know I'm not going to finish it and I've moved it around a few times, then I'd rather just cut my losses. And it's hard sometimes. It's hard to decide, or, you know, and that's another thing too. Somebody was asking me about my whip bags. In my whip bags, I do have these stitch markers. They sell them on Amazon, and you can get like, I don't know, it's like 100 of them, 200 of them, and they come in this little box that opens up, and they're color coded. I actually took index cards and cut them in half, so now they're like half that size. They're like 2 by 2, and took a hole punch and punched holes in them. And in my whip bag, I take that and put it in to the hole in my index card and put this on my work, and what it says is the pattern name, where it came from, so I know if I'm looking at Ravelry or I'm looking at Etsy, or, you know, I'm looking at things right now, and it tells me my hook size and, you know, what brand of yarn I was using, because sometimes we don't, you know, just because you're working on something doesn't mean you always have everything, all of the supplies all in one bag, so I find that easier to do. Kim says, me too, I put the Rosetta cowl away for a while. Glad it's not just me. Robin said, me right now, since I'm getting pulled off to help outside, I'm beat tonight. Hope to get in the next one. Yeah, it's hard, you know, it's so hard when you're pulled in directions and you've got stuff to do and you're always adulting. You know, I know so many people that are like, oh, I'm so glad to be home and, you know, have crochet time, and other people's are sick of being in the house already, and there are people that, you know, like I wish I could be off. So, you know, it doesn't, none of the stress helps right now. So, you know, I just try to keep you guys busy and with options, and ultimately, you know, we're here if you need an ear or you need help. The Tunisian group, we have enough resources, and that's what I said. The polls and stuff that are going to come in this week are going to be super important for you guys to put input in. Like I said, we're picking out the shawl name this week, and the top 10 are going to be on there, and we're going to choose from there what name is going to win the name for this, name this shawl. And the polls are going to be going up, so please take the time to stop in and, you know, put your opinions on the polls. Debbie said planted broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, and eggplant. Ooh. I'm a vegetable girl. I love my vegetables. I'm weird like that. So, if you new members, if you have questions about hooks, ask. I have several sets here. The most popular ones probably, and a few that aren't so popular, and can ask and answer questions about those. I find the biggest thing that draws people into the hooks is whether they're inline or they're tapered, and it's your preference on what you like. So that makes a big difference. Robin says no comment. When I think I'm going to get crochet time, I don't till I crawl into bed and fall asleep on it. I've had those weeks. It's not fun. We will be doing a giveaway for the finished shawl as well. So I'm super excited about that. I know a few people have the fixed hooks that want to get the cabled hooks, and that will be one of the options if you get your shawl done and get it posted on the page. Like I said, the blocking video and all that stuff's going to be going up once we get closer to the end. We have a good many rows yet, probably, you know, a good 2 months yet if we just do 12 rows a week, which is why I think I'm going to increase it, because I know some people have more time on their hands right now. So, if you guys have any questions, let me know. Please put your input on the polls. If there's nothing else this evening, I'm going to wrap things up. I do look forward to your input. Thank you guys for joining me live. I do appreciate the fact that you guys take the time out of your day to join me to find out what's going on in our little old group here. So, and all of you have been fantastic friends and crochet partners. So, don't hesitate to ask questions, and I will see you again next Wednesday. And if you need anything, pop it in here. We'll get you some help. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.